And action! Hello everybody, welcome to the Geekheads podcast where we talk about everything film industry related, and happy Halloween. It's your boy, friendly neighborhood Deadpool, and some random dude. I don't really know who the fuck you are. Get the fuck out of my podcast. So it's Deadpool and it's TJ, DJ, and today we have a new list of horror movies you can watch on Halloween. Last year we had the same shit. Also, although it was like horror movies and thriller movies.
Yeah, indeed.
And yeah, if there's no like new movies in this list after this podcast episode, you can go watch that podcast episode. So
Indeed,
there must be some movies that you haven't seen in some of these episodes. Anyways, if you don't like horror movies but you're looking for new movies to watch on Halloween, we are doing another episode 2. I'm not sure, like it probably comes out day after this. And most likely it's already out if you're watching this a little bit later. So we're gonna give you non-horror movies that fits the Halloween theme. This episode we both tell our top 3 horror movies plus honorable mentions. And like I said, we already had one episode last year, and it was already hard to pick horror movies back then, since I rarely watch any horror movies. But should we just go straight to the movies? Nobody cares to listen. Honestly, I'm gonna take this mask off. But you can start with your first
certainly.
movie.
My top 3 starts with the 1973's The Exorcist. One of these classical ones, and my list consists only about movies before kind of 21st century. So
By the way, before you go, I just take the mask off, and yes, I'm not Ryan Reynolds. Okay, now you can go. Continue.
So yeah, exactly. So Exorcist is a horror movie you probably never say you actively enjoy, but at least I personally just find myself rewatching the movie, more than I watch other horror movies. I mean, it's nice. But the movie is about a 12-year girl who's possessed by a mysterious entity, and her mother seeks help, and this like elderly priest recognizes the necessity for him to have a showdown with the old demonic enemy, So that's basically where the name comes for the movie also. The movie is really based on really simplest premises, but even on its like happier moments, it's absolutely anxiety-inducing movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It's old one, of course. It's not as like spooky or like scary as like modern day horror movies, of course, but it's still a great movie you should watch.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it once, but it was more like I was like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old or something, or even 13, probably like 14 or 15. I was watching with a friend. I was it was like a sleepover, and but we mostly just like clipped through it, just watch some particular parts and then skipped part of it, because he wanted to watch it that way. He kind of just wanted to show me like the scary parts of it, so didn't really like fully watch it. But yeah. It's a scary, very scary movie, and like very not just like jump scary type only, like a lot of like so-called horror movies, or just few jump scares here and there, especially like these more comedy style horror movies. It's kind of weird mix half the time, but this is honestly like it never lets you feel at ease at any point of the movie. Do you have something else to say about it, or do we go to my?
Well, I will add it has a great score, or decently good. I mean, some tracks I will maybe give a list on if you can find them somewhere. Of course, it's older movie, so it's not all the tracks are maybe not available. But yeah, no further additions to my top 3.
By the way, before I go to my top 3 so-called. I don't have these in order, in a sense that the first one that I'm gonna talk about is just something that I haven't seen in the longest time, and I don't remember it that well, so I can't really put it like top 1. And the second one. Well, anyways, we're gonna get to them when we get to them. But like, these are not particularly in order. This is just different types of movies, a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Just wanted to clarify that. But that said, my number 3 or my first one is From Hell. I'm gonna take my notes. Honestly, like I said, don't remember much from this movie other than, yeah, it was really, really extremely graphic. Almost like, what is the freaking... It's like Saw or something. Is it Saw, the movie franchise? Yeah. Not as graphic, but very close. Like, kind of like a Deadpool, but horror. So, yeah, that's how I would probably explain it. 2001 movie, and I'm both extremely so yeah, it's about Jack the Ripper, kinda. Well, not really. It's more rather about a troubled, clairvoyant, almost Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot type of police detective who investigates the murders of Jack the Ripper. So not exactly about Jack the Ripper. And yes, while it might sound like a generic detective with fairly generic detective story, I would say both Johnny Depp as the detective and the murderer being Jack the Ripper himself puts very unique twist to it. Also, I've always been extremely fascinated, although also disgusted of the legend Jack the Ripper. That is, in fact, one of the first short stories I ever wrote as a kid. It was in school, like a school story that we had to write. I chose to make it about Jack the Ripper, even though I like barely knew anything about him. It's very interesting that there's been 2 of them in Britain. Actually, it was Jack the Ripper and later on the Ripper of Yorkshire, much later on, like in the history.
It's pretty.
But that's much more recent.
Yeah, British just named
still prostitutes for some reason.
Yeah.
They don't like the prostitutes. No love for them, sadly. Anyways, I think this movie is something that's gone fairly unnoticed by horror fans. But I would say most horror fans, even the hardcore ones, will most likely enjoy this one. It's one of the rare good movies relating to Jack the Ripper, and this one is actually based on fictional novel and not in real life. So it's also not like as predictable, unless you've read the novel, of course. And the acting, it's fantastic. Like, well, you kind of expect that from Johnny Depp, but also others that are a little bit more or less known. I would mention like Heather Graham is somebody probably people know. Maybe Ian Holm or Robbie Coltrane, but other than that, there's, they're not the most known, at least not to me. But yeah, fantastic acting, and the disturbingness of it all makes the Ripper even more scary. And of course, when you know the real life story, it gives even more attention to it, I would say. So yeah, really recommend this movie to people. Especially like hardcore fans or who like these gory, is that the fucking word? Like it's very graphic horror movies, yeah. And honestly, I should watch this one myself this weekend. It's on Disney Plus, so hell, maybe we can even go watch it if you have time or something.
Yeah, if I have time, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it would be very fun to watch. But yeah, that's pretty much everything, every note that I have put for this film. But yeah, recommend to especially like hardcore fans. If you don't like these very graphic things, then maybe go with something else on this list. But if you like if you're like hardcore fan and you want to watch something that you probably haven't seen, but you probably will enjoy, then this is for you.
Yeah, and we really haven't mentioned yet that, of course, your list is a more horror, thriller probably based not that much on the actual horror scene, because obviously, like you
yeah, they are not
mentioned,
like.
yeah.
Other
Obviously,
than
like,
this one, they are not
yeah.
like. They are not like this jump scary horror or this
Yeah.
like what I would say classic like this. There is this unrealistic or like how would I say this unkillable superhuman murderer, like a lot of that, or something like out of this world is the better world, like vampires or ghosts or zombies or something. Which is kind of like the classic horror, I would say. If you think about like what we have last episode or in the last year's episode with Ring, for example.
Exactly.
That's like the classic, or like Voorhees, Jason Voorhees with like those are like the classic. But that's not really like my style. I like when there's like some based on realism or like some realism in it, and
or it's like kind of that type of movie that it could be like, yeah. So
yeah, and it's not okay. Well, there's one on my list that is not that at all, I will say, but
I understand.
But very less that, but they are more story driven, maybe more than just make people feel anxious driven.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they are like this kind of more like this drama, not drama, but like kind of like this story driven movies put on like this horror genre style. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it any better, but yeah.
But the point being, you don't really like actual horror movies, and you are more like on this thriller scene. And that being myself, I do really like horror movies, and classical horror. And of course, I love everything that seems realistic. Like I don't see them as these movies like which have like this unnatural killer, like It, maybe, like for example, that doesn't really seem realistic in any sense. Of course, it's good horror movie, of course, and has a decently great story, but nah, it's just I personally. I personally do enjoy a bit of that original, like classical horror type of movies. Of course, I do watch The Ring kind of many times, and it's one of my, I would say, it's childhood favorite is a wrong sounding term, but it's not that far off. But yeah, exactly. But should we go number twos now? I believe.
Yeah, sure. I completely forgot what I was about to say, but yeah, let's go to the number twos.
So I will go and continue, and like I said, I do like this like more classical horrors, and all my movies on this list are before year 2000 movies, and I like more of these like realistical seeming scenes. And the next one I have is The Silence of the Lambs from 1991. I think this is really known movie. I don't know if somebody doesn't know this movie, but it's like really known, I will say. And I dropped my phone on my desk. But yeah, the movie is like really creepy, and like the movie sticks with you like long after you like finish the movie. You like you like go to bed and you're like, oh, okay, I'm still thinking of the movie. And like the movie hasn't had the effect of like getting old or something, like the horror scenes are getting old, like the effects or something. No, like after 30 years, the movie's release, it's still utterly terrifying, and if you don't know this movie from the title, it's the movie about this young FBI employee, Clarice, if I'm not wrong with the name, acted by Judy Foster. who works with the cannibal serial killer Hannibal Lecter. That name should at least ring some bells. Who's
Isn't
acted by?
isn't this like isn't this by the way like a sequel to the or am I completely wrong?
I'm.
Because like there's movie about Hannibal
Yeah.
Lecter himself, but I don't know if these are like connected at all.
I don't know, but if
No, the Hannibal. I don't know. Yeah.
Hannibal. Yeah, there is movie called Hannibal, isn't there?
Yeah.
If
I
I'm
don't know
not
if they're
wrong.
connected at all.
But yeah, in this movie, Hannibal is acted by Anthony Hopkins. How I'm not familiar with that movie, what you just mentioned, but I know that there is some movie, or there could be some movie close to that.
There's
There.
4 movies.
Okay, you
Actually.
googled that. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
But
so
the Hannibal movie itself it's with the same act. All of these are basically apparently with the same actor, but the Hannibal
okay,
movie is 2001 film,
okay,
and then
so
there
yeah,
is it's complete franchise Hannibal Lecter with 4 movies.
yeah, okay, that's
Okay.
great. That's
Continue.
just, I should really check those out myself. Shout
Yeah,
out to
I'm just
those.
fastly gonna mention if I can hear. There is so the Silence of the Lambs that you're talking about, and there's just movie called Hannibal. There's Red Dragon and Hannibal Rising. Apparently, I don't know about the Hannibal Rising, but at least these 3 have the same guy playing Hannibal Lecter. I will
Yeah, Anthony
guess
Hopkins,
the
yeah.
last one is you.
I mean,
Yeah.
those last 2 names sound like some China ripoffs, but I don't know.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, the movie is about this FBI employee who works with the cannibalistic serial killer Hannibal Lecter, and they're tracking down this other serial killer called Jamie Gump, or aka Buffalo Bill, and like horror. Like I mentioned before, like this movie hasn't, or this movie is still horrifying. Like it's been like more closer to 30 years from the release, and like movies in the horror genre really do age quickly, and like older movies just aren't like scary, like I said, and and when you compare. Of course, when you compare to the first release, like when they came out, they were really scary and stuff. But many movies are not that scary anymore. But I mean, Silence of the Lambs still has the same thrill factor, and it's really like severely outdating other movies, like being the scariest. Many movies are just like falling and falling because there's more like visual effects heavy, scary movies and better ways to tell the horror genre stories. So yeah, and this movie is still really scary. There was one other thing. Oh yeah, the movie won like 3 or more Oscars, so I think it's highly rated. Yeah, the movie won Best Picture Oscar, and then Foster and Hopkins won the Best Actress and Best Actor of the Year at the same Oscar gala. So, I mean, for a horror film, that's insanely great success. Well, any film having 3 Oscars, winning 3 Oscars is a great success, but in horror genre, it's like really big thing.
Yeah, I mean horror and comedy as a genre are something that usually critics don't like put on the high pedestal and don't really like to give any awards to other unless they're like on their own genre, like best horror movie specifically, or but usually like they don't usually do well in any ceremonies. So
yeah,
that tells a lot for sure.
The movie also has a great soundtrack by, if I'm not wrong, Howard Shore. If I'm not wrong, please don't quote me on yet. Who is known from The Hobbits or scoring Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, he has scored this movie also, and the soundtrack is something I will also give a listen. if you are listening to movie soundtracks, of course. But I say it's something that I personally go listen sometimes, or some of the tracks are on my movie soundtrack playlist, you know. But I will have you go at the next one, because me talking for two.
My next one is Babysitter 1 and 2. Obviously, if you haven't seen the 1, watch that first and then watch the 2. Anyways, I think that's pretty obvious. So yeah, I've only seen the first one. So I'm gonna talk about that and not the second one, but I've heard they're kind of very similar. And yeah, if you like the first one, you're probably gonna like the second one.
Yeah, I
But
checked
yeah, I
the
really
trailer. Yeah, I before you continue, I checked the trailer for the second one when I saw you put that on the list. So I was like, okay, some of the jokes even on the trailer seemed like if you haven't seen the first movie, you really don't know the second one. It's
yeah,
one of those movies.
exactly. In general, I think you should always watch. Other than Star Wars, you should always start with the first one.
Yeah,
Maybe even with
indeed.
Star Wars. I mean, that's how Lucas wanted everybody to watch it. So I don't know. Anyways, this is not about Star Wars. Let's go. Let's talk about the Babysitter. So I haven't seen the first one or the second one. Only seen the first one, but I want to see the second one too. If you like those comedic but graphic horror movies that don't necessarily make any sense plot wise, but are fun to watch, this yeah, I mean these ones are for you. They are kind of like scary movies, but more graphic. Um, So basically, The Babysitter is a movie directed by MCG, which is not like I don't know much from his stuff. Um, but anyways, it tells about a guy who gets left alone with a new hot babysitter who turns out to be being a part of satanic cult. Um, and yeah, shit gets very interesting after that. And yeah, I think it's just fun because it kind of mocks horror films that are like based on these small places, um like in one house, for example. But it like a lot of horror movies are usually, because a lot of horror movies are very low budget, so they kind of do it in a small place, which is not a bad thing obviously, but yeah, it is what it is. But it also make fun of these like high school, teenage, college dorm, type of movies at the same time. So it's kind of like a parody of both mixed into one. And it's just, yeah, you don't think about this story. It doesn't really make sense in any way. The guy is way too old actually to have a babysitter. The babysitter is barely too, much more older, like maybe like few years. Like him, yeah, that really will ever happen. And yeah, but but it's not meant to be taken seriously. It has 6.3 IMDb rating, so it's not like the best rating, but it's just, but usually these type of movies don't have a good rating because they're and comedy movies in general, because it's fun. It's just a fun, everything's random weird movie, and that's that. It's just um yeah, I really don't know any better way to explain it. It's it doesn't have the biggest. It has fairly obviously fairly young cast.
I mean, it's a Netflix original, if I'm not wrong, so it's not surprising that it has a younger-ish cast. So,
Yeah,
you know.
like the only one pretty much that I know, only two that I know from or actually only three that I know from the face, but don't really even know that have fairly bigger roles, are Andrew Bachelor, Emily Allen Lind, and Samara Weaving. Don't None of them are like ring bells when you say the name, but like I do recognize the face. And the only one that like I know the name and the face has a much smaller role is
Yeah,
Ken
okay.
Marino, who acts the boy's dad, and that's that. Um, but yeah, it's actually written by Brian Duffield, and if some people don't know who he is, he's more known from acting, I think, at least to me. Actually,
Mm,
no, it's not. Never mind. Never mind. I'm gonna take that back. But yeah, it's written by Brian Duffield. I think he's.
good shit.
Let me think. Anyways, yeah, it's he's like a director and producer and writer, all of those things, but he hasn't direct. He didn't direct these movies, or at least this one. Um, but apparently he directed the second one. Anyways, yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
I'm gonna take that fucking whole thing back. It doesn't ring any bells to me.
Okay, so you
so yeah.
spend in that whole thing cap is wrong word. Yeah, the whole thing you were last 4 minutes is don't
Yeah.
remind yourself
Yeah.
about that.
It's written by Brian Duffield if somebody knows him or cares.
Okay.
And that's that.
Yeah.
Have you seen the first one? First Babysitter.
I haven't seen the Babysitters, but it's certainly a movie I could maybe watch some point when I do own Netflix. Of course, I do not own it Netflix.
Yeah.
So
if it actually even is in his Netflix at the moment, I'm not really sure.
absolutely. That's a second thing you need to also always consider. But before going to top ones or number ones, your list wasn't on any specific order. Mine is not that, but it's probably on the order I would watch. Well, not really. I would watch Silence of the Lambs over this one, but let's go few honorable mentions first. So I personally have, like I mentioned like 3 times already, that all of my movies on my actual list are before 21st century, and so I will shout out few movies from really recent years, and those are 2019's Us and 2017's It. I mean, I mentioned It before when we were talking about how unnatural they are, but it is just like a good horror and like a more spookier horror, I would say. And Us is also a really good film. Really good film. I think it had. I'm not sure about its IMDb rating, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty high. Well, it's 6.8. Not really, but it's great. Yeah. I personally think it's really great.
What I'm just wondering is what's next. Like first it's Us, then it's It, then it's like what them.
Yeah, where's them?
Her.
I mean, of course, these are not franchised or something, so don't. I mean, you could do probably a movies service just having these like Us, It, them, him, her.
Yeah.
You know.
Then it's like who, what, when, where.
Who, what, when, where. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's like a horror movie already called like any of those titles, basically.
Yeah, you, me. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
I'm not sure about those. I mean, a horror film called Me. I mean, or horror
You're
film
the bad
called
guy.
You.
The main character is the bad guy, or it's like point of view, like you know the main character doesn't even talk. It's like you.
Exactly, or the main character has some kind of demonic second side he doesn't know about or something.
Yeah.
It's like Venom 2.5 or something. Me. And then there's you, something which is like that. 2.75. I don't know. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I have one. Which is Frankenweenie. Listen, let me explain. This is not. I know this is not necessarily a horror movie, but some people count it as one. I've seen some articles where people count it as a horror movie. So I'm gonna put it in honorable mention just to be like the middle ground. It's a funny animated version of a classic horror story, Frankenstein. If people don't know,
okay. Yeah.
Can you even like get more classic than that? I don't know. That's like the
it's
story
really,
before we
really
even had
old
like
school,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah. Like movies weren't even a thing. I think was it like a theater first? I'm not really, or like a novel or something. I don't really like it. It's, or is it like even older? I think it might be even like just some random lore or story that people just used to tell each other. And I'm very blur for
It's
some reason.
I'm pretty sure it's a novel, but
Yeah,
if I'm
I'm just gonna
wrong. But
check. Gonna check.
we're gonna spend 5 minutes of the podcast just googling something and not saying anything, which is absolutely
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
great.
It's a novel published January 1st in 1818. So there you go. Like I said, pretty old.
Yeah, so 200
But yeah,
years
it's
old
an
novel. Yeah.
it's an animated kind of remade version of that.
Okay.
But where the Frankenstein is it's a wiener dog basically, but Frankenstein.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
animated something.
yeah. I mean, it's the classic, cool but kind of terrifying Tim Burton animation style. So I would
Oh
count that
yeah,
as
exactly.
horror
Okay,
almost.
yeah. No, okay, now I
Yeah,
realize. Okay,
and
yeah.
it's starred by Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, and Martin Short.
Some voice actors, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, of course.
Should also
I really
always
like Tim
mention
Burton's
probably,
like this
yeah.
animation style.
Tim Burton has a great style on animation side.
Or like,
I really
yeah,
like it.
but there's animation or like in real life, it's always like so like fantasy type of over the top, like this very unique style. So I appreciate that. It was, by the way, this movie was nominated for one Oscar.
Okay.
Which
For
right
best
now I
animation
cannot
question
find.
mark.
Probably some reason it doesn't tell me.
IMDb
And
doesn't tell
I'm
you.
not gonna
I
look it
mean,
too much. Best animated feature.
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, of course. What would you expect?
So yeah, that's my honorable mention. It's like didn't want to put it on my list. It's not good enough. I don't think it's better than any of these ones on my list. And even if it will be, it's not like it kind of depends who you ask if they consider it horror movie or not. So I didn't want to put it like in actual list, but I wanted to mention it anyways. If somebody want to
Yeah.
watch like horror type of animated movie, it's kind of
I mean,
comedic and not really
I mean,
that horror.
horror
But
is
still.
probably for wrong word for animated. If somebody knows actually great horror animation movie, please.
Well, there's few anime movies which are really
Well,
freaking
I mean
scary
that
horror
could be
movies.
possible, but yeah, but just
Yeah,
uh,
but
drop that
yeah,
in the
it's kind of like
comments
this
if you know.
comedy drama, more animation comedy drama, but it has this, since it's from Frankenstein, it has this very horror vibe to it. This its story. Anyways, do we go to the top one?
Yeah, we really should go for the top ones. I mean, let's not get stuck in honorable mentions and talk half an hour about something.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
something. Yeah. You wanna go first or do I go first?
I can go first. I think you have more
Okay.
classical movies, so
Yeah,
it's
I have
best to
a
put
great
last.
movie to end the list. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go.
So my movie is Sleepy Hollow, which is one of those movies that I ended up watching purely because it's starred by Johnny Depp. But
Yeah.
he's not the only great actor in this piece of cinema. I mean, there's also Christina Ricci, Ian McDiarmid, Michael Cough, Christopher Walken, and none other than Christopher Lee as well. So, who is like a horror movie legend. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And the movie tells about a guy who travels to Sleepy Hollow, which is like a village, to investigate the decapitations of 3 people. So we get straight to it, not like a cut in the wrist, not like a shot in the head, just
Yeah.
head off. And yeah, with the culprit being the legendary apparition, the Headless Horseman, which is like kind of like this scary horror story / legend in that village. And yeah,
Yeah.
this is one of those movies that went too much horror for me. And it's
Okay.
not that bad as like From Hell. Not that graphic either. Like it's kind of graphic, but not that graphic. But it has this thrilling vibe to it, and the and it's also directed by Tim Burton, so it has the same fantasy, dark, mystical world build that Tim Burton has built for the movie. And yeah, people who puts the story first and some scare second, I recommend this movie to you people. You people sounds very bad. I recommend this to you. And I really ended up liking it. Yeah, it's not the greatest that I've seen, but like I think it's very interesting. And if you like these story-driven horror movies, or if you like Tim Burton movies but haven't seen this one, I think you will actually really like this one. Um, I mean, yeah, it's at least give it a chance. It's very cool cool story. It's a 1991. It did one Oscar, by the way, and one
Mm.
and two nominees. So it's
Nominations are easier, a hell of a easier get than
yeah yeah.
winning
I agree.
Oscar, but
But for a horror movie, it's pretty good. You know, nominees for best cinematography, which is kind of cool for horror, and best
yeah.
costume design, and it won the Oscar for best art direction, set decoration.
Yeah, so it won in set decoration. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's not surprise. In horror, these are usually, I will say, one of the most genres they get nominated, like costume design, cinematography, because of course horror
yeah,
can have really simple, but to tell a horror story greatly, you have to have incredibly good cinematography, and that's why many horror movies do get nominated for Oscar.
yeah,
Oscar.
and
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't really surprise at all when you consider it's a Tim Burton. I mean, even like the Batman movies he made had very like this fantasy, very unique style to them, and
well,
not the
Burton
unrealistic type
always
of.
has a fantasy style in his
Yeah, he's
in
very
his.
unique style, so people appreciate that. I think so. But yeah, it's also 7.3 IMDb rating, which I think is pretty good for horror movie.
Yeah, horror movies really do have a really bad record on,
Yeah,
you
but
know.
I just wanted to say, like I said, it's not that graphic. It's um, I don't know how do all this translate to US, for example, but it's K16 age restriction, and not like R rated compared to other two of my list. But it's more horror with the like the story and like the thrilling vibe than and not like this gory graphic thing. So
So yeah,
yeah,
the
if you don't like this
PG
graphics,
ratings, but it's probably PG-13 or NC-17 in US ratings.
yeah,
I do not have the. I doubt it's rated R, but we do not
yeah.
have the. I do not have the English version of Wiki. Yeah, I mean IMDb or Wikipedia open, so I could check that right now. Yeah, but
But yeah,
let's
that's pretty
not get
much.
stuck on
Have
that.
you seen Sleepy Hollow?
No, no, I'm not sure. Some of
Okay,
the
well,
pictures I see on the IMDb and the trailer seem somewhat familiar.
yeah,
So there's a chance. Of course, it's 1999's movie, so there's a chance I have seen it 10 years ago or something, and don't remember it now. It's a
yeah,
there's a slight chance for that. Me being
yeah. Well, if you ever end up,
yeah.
getting the Netflix again, then it should be there. At least I did watch it from there. So
Yeah, I guess I will get Netflix when what is it? Casa de Papel this, what is it, season 5, year
Season
5.
5 part 2.
Yeah, the part 2 drops because I want to just watch them same
Yeah.
time. I don't see the reason to buy part 1 and part 2. I mean, that is
Yeah.
of course why I have a Disney subscription for a year, because there's many stuff that I do that stuff that I want to see it as fast as possible, but
Yeah.
of course that's even that series I like kind of much, but not that much. I mean,
Yeah.
so I really don't
But,
have Netflix for any goddamn reason. But
Yeah.
let's not get stuck
Yeah, let's not get stuck
on
to one. Let's go
the
to
shadow
the last one.
grounds between your and my number one. And like we said before, before we went into yours, mine is really well suited for the theme of this episode, and great number one pick of the list, and it's the 1978's Halloween.
Yep.
You know, I mean, this is a movie I really think everybody knows about or should know about. I mean, of course, there's a 2000 something beyond TikTok generation, you know, kids who don't know anything about movies and series, so which is completely weird idea to me also, but yeah,
These damn kids these days.
damn
They're
kids
just 20 years old.
damn teenagers and kids these days. I mean, something is
Yeah,
wrong.
I just turned 20 this year, so now I can say that I'm not a teenager anymore, since 19 is the last year of being a teenager. So damn teenagers these days, man. Yeah.
I mean, man, that's beyond. That's if you're past 21 in US ages. So
Yeah.
somebody might not appreciate that comment yet. So yeah,
I don't
Halloween. Talking about Halloween, my movie is of course the Halloween. Is pretty much the original stalk and slash movie, you know, in that genre of horror films, and of course the movie is about Michael Myers. You know, I mean, that name should pretty much ring up in like everybody. If you didn't, any of the names on Silence of the Lambs didn't ring, I mean, Michael Myers or Halloween should at least. I mean,
Yeah, like I would maybe maybe, since I'm not like a super horror fan, I would maybe forgive you if you don't know like Jason Voorhees, for example.
yeah.
Or even Hannibal Lecter, but like damn, if you don't know Michael Myers, then
It's like one of
then
these
you don't know anything about
movie
horror.
cultural things you should just know.
Yeah, the
know.
Halloween, the whole franchise. There's so many freaking movies that if you've never heard about them, then I have no idea where you live.
Yeah, I mean,
how many? Not just one rock, not just under one rock, like under a freaking mountain or something.
Yeah, the mountain of stone. But yeah, talking about Michael Myers, in this movie he breaks out from I'm not sure if he's in mental hospital or something. I don't remember.
Mental hospital.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, some institutional something place. Breaks out at night, just the night before Halloween, and you know, no one knows or even wants to find out what will happen on October 31st. Of course, nobody knows to expect this guy yet. Besides Myers' personal psychiatrist, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist is probably the right way to pronounce it. But this character called Dr. Loomis, who knows that Michael is coming back, you know, and by the time the whole town realizes it will be too late for like many characters, and you will you will totally see that in the movie. So it's just stalk and slash movie with one two side characters that have some other storyline. But Halloween as a movie, it really keeps you constantly like guessing and having both claustrophobia and fearful exposure. Often also at the same time, to create this like deeply uneasy sense of vulnerability for the viewer, because like you don't know like you're let's say like feel really, I would say, vulnerable whenever, vulnerable wherever you are and whatever is happening in the movie. It's like you're just like like you're really uneasy many times on the movie. You're just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, this definitely one of those that I didn't really enjoy watching that much and felt very uneasy for a long time after watching it.
Yeah, it's like, of course, it's not that scary. Like I told in Silence of the Lambs, it's really old movie. It's 50 years soon. It's 40 something years already. So,
but it's still a really messed up story.
30, 40, 50, something like 50 years old. Close. That's a fucking damn old movie for 50 years old. Now that I mentioned that, but yeah, exactly. It's still a scary is still a term I would use on horror movie. Of course, these days standards, if that came out of movie theaters, everybody would just say, "Whoa, what is this lazy horror movie?" But it's one of the original classics in the whole horror genre, and I really think on Halloween or any other day you should give it a watch if you are on the mood.
Yeah, although maybe not in the middle of night completely alone.
I mean, there's a scenario
if you want to,
for that
I mean,
also, but
yeah,
exactly.
I don't recommend. I actually have fun story regarding to this. I didn't put it on my notes, but I don't remember when I did watch it. I watched this a long time ago once, and then one of my friends, actually, you know him, it's my neighbor. Wanted to watch this one with me. He was visiting, and we were like checking what we should watch from Netflix. I don't remember if it was Halloween or not. Probably not. But it was like, I think he might have even like been like sleeping over. I don't remember. But it was like night, and he wanted to watch something, and then he was like, "Hey, let's watch Halloween." I'm like, "I don't really know if you're gonna like it. It's just a warning." But he wanted to watch it, so watch it anyway. So I'm like, okay, let's watch it. We ended up watching like the first 15 minutes when it's like, without too much spoiling, you can see from the trailer when it's like the what happened and why we ended up in this in the first place.
So it's pretty much the story before.
How
the origin story of Michael Myers.
How and it's very short part of the main movie.
Yeah,
like kind of how Michael Myers became Michael Myers, and it was like, this is so fucking messed up, and we ended up stopping after that and started watching something else. So definitely not like, don't go watch this expecting like it's gonna be nothing. Like, like only go watch if you know that you really like horror movies and I want to watch something actual horror movie, even though it might not be the scariest, but it's still very suspenseful and like very uneasy feeling. So
I mean, exactly. If you try, just get yourself into the horror genre. It is one movie you could maybe use to introduce yourself to the genre. I mean, that sticks. But I mean, let's not get stuck and nobody wants to listen our voice for past 45 minutes or something. I mean, 30 minutes. I don't know how much you were gonna cut from the actual context to make it a little bit more enjoyable for the viewer who is now listening this. Hopefully somebody is. But let's end the episode. We don't have actually the major thing we should have, but let's talk fast about what movie we like or would maybe pick or watch, like if we had to watch one movie from each other's list right now, I mean that would be a thing, so we can fast still finish talking about these movies.
Yeah,
um
sorry, there was some
yeah, background noise, I know.
background noise. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally probably, if I had to watch one movie from your list, um I'm not sure in what mood would I be, but
Yeah.
I probably would watch Babysitter 1 2 in a comedic sense, because none of these Johnny Depp movies really
Yeah,
seem
they're not
funny.
really a comedy, no. You know. You're
Yeah,
gonna go with the
yeah, do I have some background noises? Yeah,
yeah.
I do. Greatly, yeah. So I will say I'll go with Babysitter 1 2 on my picks. But
Okay.
what would you watch like right now from my list ish thing?
I mean, I must say I've seen Halloween, and I don't really want to see another time. Exorcist is something that these type of movies are something that probably I dislike the most, like these possessed little girls. Um, so I'm probably going with the Silence of the Lambs
I mean, Silence of the
because Hannibal
Lambs.
Lecter is very interesting. That's like it's horror, but it has this like more realistic style to it still. So I'm probably gonna go with that.
Yeah, I mean, Silence of the Lambs is a really great pick. Of course,
Yeah,
it's really. Uh, of this movie also leaves you kind of the uneasy feeling, and you are thinking about it
yeah,
like 3 hours after the movie and stuff. But
yeah.
it's a great pick, incredibly great pick. But
It's just the most interesting from
yeah,
all of them, and I've already seen the Halloween and not really interested again. And like the synopsis and the story just sounds much better for this. So I'm gonna go with that. Honestly, I do really recommend you watch From Hell and Sleepy Hollow at some point, especially From Hell since did you have Disney Plus? So if you do,
yeah.
um,
I have history ready if we do that section still.
okay,
Uh,
yeah, sure.
yeah. So before we end the episode, we have the one last final thing before you click off, which is this day in history, and of course in these episodes we are going with the film, TV, stuff. What we do on the Marvel and Star Wars episodes, we focus only on Marvel and Star Wars, but in this episode it's about films and TV. So in 2008, October 29th, if I'm not wrong, yeah, October 29th, 2018, 22nd James Bond film Quantum of Solace premiered. Of course, starred by Daniel Craig. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's the historical notif-ish thing.
that's probably the least liked Daniel Craig movie,
Yeah,
Bond.
no
I would
Bond. Yeah,
guess, but it's still a good one. I don't, honestly, I've been thinking about watching all of them again because I just they are at the HBO if I remember correctly at the moment or
yeah. I
Viaplay. I
think
don't remember.
yeah.
So I've been
Yeah,
thinking
one
about
of
watching
those.
them
One
again.
of those.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's the episode.
that's the episode. If there was no movies for you, hopefully there were a movie that you can go and run with that you haven't seen yet and that sounded interesting to you or something that you would be interested to, because there's a lot of different type of Halloween or like different type of horror movies here, like comedy, unnatural, more realistic, like every type of horror movie basically. So hope you had something to take from this. If you didn't, then check our next episode where we talk about non-horror films. for this Halloween for Halloween in general. And if you haven't come out yet, then which means that you're watching this probably on Friday, which means that it's probably gonna come out tomorrow, which is Saturday.
Yeah.
So
if you
just
came
subscribe
from that episode,
and
then thank you.
Yeah, if you came up with that episode and decided like non-horror movies can suck my ass, I'm gonna be a real boy and watch horror film
stupid.
in Halloween. So then thank you, I guess. But yeah, there's gonna be that episode too for the people who don't want to watch horror film but wants to watch something that are part of the and goes with the Halloween theme. So there you go. But other than that, thanks for listening. If you did hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. And hope we're gonna see you in our next episode or next videos in general. But until then, bye.
Yeah. Bye.